Welcome back to Almost Pro, where we explore the human stories behind performance. Today, we're joined by Emily Kile, physiologist, PhD candidate in psychology, founder of Workzbe, and author of Bitter to Better. Emily works with teams across sport and business, helping people understand how the brain, stress, and trauma influence behavior. In sport, we talk about mindset, discipline, resilience, but today we're going deeper. We're looking at how the body keeps score, how survival strategies shape performance, and how growth is possible long after the game changes. Emily, welcome to Almost Pro.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with y'all.
So happy to have you.
So excited, Emily. And before we get into all of the science that Francis and I are super keen to unpack, can you tell us how working in engineering led to paving the way for understanding human brains and trauma?
So engineering is, I started off in the background of engineering. So my father, he invented a lot of things that make carpet. And that is where I first learned about processes and um, areas of like pain points along the way and just structure, the importance of structure and process. I am a process nerd. I say efficiency is my love language. And so, within that aspect of learning about how objects are designed, I then got really nerdy in on how humans are designed. And so now I have 2 degrees in physiology, and I also have a degree or finishing up a degree in psychology. My kids call me a physiologist now. So, but that really brought in the understanding of you have to like the wiring, especially within the brain, the structures, we're all like networks and how it all flows together. And it's for me, it's my happy nerdy space.
Yeah, the engineering of the brain. Well, I guess we should probably start with how would you define trauma in everyday practical terms?
Trauma is a response based on past context. And so our brain, we used to think that our brains were in like, they still are our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And we thought that they would like all precede one another. Now we're knowing that we know about our brains and our bodies that it now is all about perception. Like we are constantly guessing ahead. We're prediction machines now. And so we take things from our past. We take things from the context being like the rooms that we were in, the environments that we were in. We take our biology that comes with it. There are so many things that come within that moment. And trauma is when all those stressors come together. And then a lot of time, trauma is notoriously known for shutting us down, going into a sympathetic response, a stressed out response. And we can't do anything from it, is typically what it is known for, is something that impacts our ability to perform.
I love that
Yeah.
statement. We can't do anything from it. We can't
Mhm.
perform from trauma, right?
Mhm. We
Yeah.
can. And that is, I know we'll go in it later in the episode probably, but that is something I've been speaking a lot. Actually, it came with my son. And also, I wrote a book called Bitter to Better, and it goes through a lot of my life experiences where I have had trauma. But what trauma can do, there is PTSD, and it is real. It is real in the body. A lot of times, what people talk about is neuroplasticity. And we have this mindset that is so quick. It's not. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of nerdily dendrites and axon, the parts of our brain to literally like pop off and like regrow itself. So I like to
Yeah,
explain
right.
it like we're creating pathways. And we started off with an open field, and then you had to slowly like carve the path.
Mm.
And where I'm from, we have like a lot of deer. And so if you've seen an animal just come down that path one time, I guess what do y'all have? Kangaroos? Antelopes? I don't know what you got over there. Uh, and so I know you don't have buffaloes. I learned that one.
That's
Uh,
true.
but all that to say is like you have a path that has been worn down, and then your goal is to make that path easily to go and like say like you want to add the concrete, you want to add the guardrails and the guidelines. So it's an easy, quick path to go. And that is a lot what we want in our body. We want it to be whenever a response comes, we don't live off of this reactivity. We can actually go to our prefrontal cortex and more of our brain's thinking centers so that we can make wise decisions.
Mm,
And so from this trauma, we have the choice to be reactive, which is a lot of where that post traumatic stress can happen, but we also can have post traumatic growth. And
mm,
it's a part of resilience, but it's how you use that to your betterment. How do you use that actually to the neuroplasticity? How do you use that to your future context? You take that past, you put it in, it's called your DMN, but like the meaning making of your brain, and you turn it into a lesson learned. You turn it into an opportunity. You turn it into something that you can inform others as well so that you can be the best human that you want to be. And like I said, I was telling my son about this, like post traumatic growth. And then he goes, he's like, Mama, I think it should actually be like PTSD, like, because it was stressful to get to this growth. And that's it. Like
yeah.
both of the traumas are stress in the body,
Yeah.
but how we use it, how we allow I call it talk about Amy, our amygdala in our brain. She has three main questions. Is it urgent? Is it causing me pain? Or can I see it differently? And do we go to that urgency of the pain, which goes straight to the body lane? Or can we see it differently and go to the brain lane and learn from it
Mm,
and let these things not own us? Um, and I do want to give a little bit of grace and context to this too. Like I talk about in the book, I don't go deep into it, but there's things that traumas that have happened where I've almost been technically killed. And then also where there are things like where I was sexually assaulted before as well. Those things I'm still triggered by them. There's certain things I can go years later and I will get in a certain either context, a certain area, and it will still hit me.
mm, mm.
But the beauty of this is it's no longer in my identity and no longer am I looking for it from a scared standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me the difference there, Emily, between um, is it time? Is it is it healing? Like what's changed between when you say it's no longer it's no longer something that you're immediately looking for,
Mhm.
um, but from time to time it can pop up. Find yourself reliving that experience or sitting in that trauma or whatever. I don't want to put the words into your mouth, but whatever your experience is, what has changed between when it was something that felt immediate, urgent, frightening to now
Mhm.
when you can cope?
There's a few contexts around it, I think, is the environments that I'm in. So I'll give a great example. Um, this this weekend, my daughter was taken out of the state without even me knowing, and I just looked down at my phone and I'm like, oh, she's in West Virginia. Um, and I've been conditioned because I've dealt with this multiple times that I have enough reps in the roles that it does not freak me out anymore. It does tick me off. I know the next step to do, so I have the experience in it. However, here's the caveat. I stupidly watched a TV show about lost children.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
This is during the moment you decided that was something you could do.
Right
Okay.
after it happened the next day, I was like, "Oh, I finished watching this one show. This one
Is
popped
that
up as something to know." And then I watched it and I was like, "Oh
yeah.
my."
Yeah.
Is that a
And
thing though,
so
Emily? Is it where we're feeling the trauma, so we look for relative things that kind of attach to it or make us feel seen or understood or connected to it rather than
we
stepping out of it?
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
so
we
glad you
can
asked
go
that.
that route. And that's a lot. Sometimes we can have confirmation biases to see and how our
Right.
fears can go. This one just was ignorance. I knew better. I knew better to watch anything about a lost child when I
Yeah.
have very little contact with
Yeah.
a child, and the last thing she told me is that she is her and her person that she was with just left the room. She's 11, just left the room, and they're going to go ice skating. I'm like, where's the adult? Oh no. And then she said she's going to call me back and doesn't tell to me until 4 o'clock the next day.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
So it's the things within these aspects of like whenever we want to perform, we can seek and listen and watch social media. So if we're
Mm,
going to perform, a lot of times the trauma in the performance can be that victim mindset that can really get us into being hurt, or it can reaffirm our thinking patterns.
right.
However, for me, I'm a person of faith. I say I've had to learn to release a lot of this stuff and go. Every Monday I go to my mountain and I say I have Jesus time so I don't go to jail. But I go and I have to have that offloading for that healthy soul work. And so what a lot of this stuff goes towards is making sure that my foundational aspect is staying healthy.
Yeah.
Mm,
And what healthy means for me is to be careful about what comes into my brain. Be careful things that will not trigger amygdala to have my Amy to be in urgency or pain. Watching that show caused a fear to come that caused a pain that caused actions.
mm.
Um, and then sometimes I'll tell you, you can walk in rooms and you can smell a certain scent and that thing can just come back. And that's where also the thing of the healthy part of like, I know to put my hand on my chest. I am safe. I am seen. I am okay. I am safe. I'm seen. I am okay. I am secure. So all of this impacts how we lead, how we in sport, in life, in work, in all these different areas. Because I've yet to meet a human that has not had something happen to them.
Unfortunately, that
Yes.
is so true. When we are talking about sport, I'm curious what trauma and stress, mostly trauma, looks like in high performance athletes. Are there signs? What does that look like?
Well, it can look in a variety of different ways, which is the beauty of what I do. I love seeing it. So I have one talk about a coach. Coaches, he does not have confidence in himself in some areas. So his little response, his soothing response, so it shows up in ways that we can feel soothed, we can feel secure, and we can feel safe. And so his soothing response is playing with his hair. And so he kept playing with his hair, and I had to come up to him the other day, and I was like, you're saying the right things. Have confidence in yourself. You don't have to play with your hair. And he's like, I know it's my fidgeting. It's like what I do. It's just how I show up. I was like, okay, how you're doing that actually shows out that you don't have confidence in your ability. You're saying the right things. You just haven't had the reps in the row. Comparative to I have an athlete. Fortunately, an athlete that I've worked with, he's not full out said it, but his reactions to certain men and men that yell and scream. And then he has said some notes about how his father was very hard on him.
Mm,
And to the point that there's probably some abuse to it. And so his trauma shows out in that he shuts down. We actually have a thing in our we have a wise athlete, wise sport assessment. And that's what we look at. Like, how do you deal with injuries or how do you deal with life things that have happened? Do you hide it? Do you flee from it? Do you fight through it? And it can be shown in so many different areas. And so that athlete, what we had to do is he did not like men. Yet he's in a male dominated industry, like a male
Yeah.
dominated sport. And I'm the only female. So I had to help him feel soothed and seen so that he could then go have a conversation with the coach and so that he could actually play and perform. Or it could be another one within high performance. The pressure put on them. I even seen it. Oof, I seen it recently with a team. The respect is not there. I'll tell you, that's the worst thing you can have if you have a team that just doesn't respect one another.
yeah.
And then at halftime, the trauma from the coach went out onto the trauma of the team and went from cussing them out, yelling at them, screaming at them, which was really hard for me to see, to then the backside came of it of the team, they came out and they showed up and showed out, but it was out of spite.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
And then the passive aggressive behaviors that happen after the fact,
Mhm.
which they won, but I had to leave the room because something that the coach said about, like, making, fun of them. They came and did that exact action, and I said, "Oh, no, y'all, I'm not gonna be a part of this." I said, "Y'all are better than this. Y'all are better than this," and I walked out. Because it can show again, it can show up in 1,000 different ways, but it's just looking for the micro cues along where people are, again, feeling where they're not feeling seen, they're recoiling, they're acting out, fight, flight, freeze, mask, and it's just I think a lot of times that coaches are just not informed. This is not something that people are taught.
Totally agree.
I was just gonna say, it's interesting that it doesn't necessarily play out in failing performance. It
Mhm,
actually can fuel the performance. The challenge is that it's not sustainable as fuel
mhm,
for performance, right? That
yeah,
ultimately there are consequences for using trauma to perform without treating it.
and I love that you say that because that's actually a lot of the principle behind my book too, is that, like, bitter to better. Is because I can even think through whenever I was an athlete, I did, cheerleading, and I could not stand my coach at the time, and I would say something that is definitely not holy, but I would say, like, "Defeat the bee" in my mind, and then I would throw my tumbling pass, and, like, it gave me that oomph, and, like, and here's the thing is, like, understanding but it was out of bitterness.
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
if I just had learned, like, I wanna be aggressive with my tumbling passes. I wanna be and learning that aspect. So that's what we look at is that your trauma is not your identity, and that's too
Mm,
much of what we put it in, that I am what happened to me. No, you are your being, and you gotta figure out how we do this in baseball. We call it home state before home plate. Like before you throw over or before you walk up, how do you want to be? How do you want to show out? How do you believe that you do best to perform? It can be aggressive. It can be calm. I have half my players on one team that loves to be like hyped all the time and the other one that likes to be serious. Then that also goes into the other interesting aspect of it is we have to know what each other's being states are because it can throw the whole team off, and people can get mad at each other. Like, no. And just being okay with understanding how they are, understanding how the environment impacts them so that they can perform at their best.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
absolutely. What I find interesting is a lot of coaching qualifications across various sports do not include any form of psychology or mental type training. It's
mm,
all very much, can the coach perform the physical task of the sport? Can they write
Mhm,
lesson plans to achieve the uh, physical skills to do the sport? But there is no, and I've done a few courses, and there are no psychological components in
mhm,
any of the ones I've seen, and I would dare say in most. And I find that very shocking when at a certain point, and really from grassroots, the psychological component is a really big factor as to whether or not that player is going to stay in sport. Their experiences in life and on court or the field or whatever the pool, whatever it may be along the way. It's such an important aspect to be learning about. And it's so great that we are learning about this today and able to share this today with athletes and with coaches and parents. For athletes that are listening, if
mhm.
they notice patterns like overreacting to mistakes, shutting down after feedback, or needing constant control, what might actually be happening in the nervous system?
Okay, so in the nervous system, it can. So a lot of times people will talk about individual, like you'll hear prefrontal cortex, you're going to hear amygdala, you're going to hear insula. They all work together. It's a network. It's not an individual unit. So I have to preface that ahead of time before I keep talking. So what usually happens is the stimulus comes, we get the response, and from there, how I like to talk about it a lot is it comes into our amygdala. Within this, the amygdala is looking at for urgency or pain. And that's the question I usually ask for whenever we're acting differently than how we want to show up. Where's their urgency or pain? You
Mm.
see this a lot of times with basketball players on the free throw line because urgency, they need to make it, and the pain if they miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and then you also have the context of the environment too. So, performance isn't always like new pressures are not always great for you see people like shut down at times as
Mm.
well. So you'll see people shut down and you will see that some can perform well under this additional pressure and some cannot. And what some of the things that people do is that reframing, that pressure is seen as opportunity. That pressure, it reduces. It's not pressure anymore, it's an opportunity. I was talking to somebody the other day and we were talking about failures and it was actually in a work environment and they're like talking about this person's going to be a leader that is going to go high up in a Fortune 100 company. And their direct report or their main leader said, "Have you failed in your job lately?" No, but I said, "But here's the thing. I doubt you see failure. I see that you see lessons learned." And it's about these reframing things that you can have. So within the body, because there's this insula, I call it the weatherman of the body. The weatherman is the one that predicts, is it going to be stormy or not? It's why, again, I should have never watched that Found show because it's going to help predict. My brain is thinking on it. It's on it. It's going to predict the future of, oh, this can go the worst case scenario. Or you just have your DMN. And this is like your meaning making network in your body. Like, can you make meaning of it? Can there be, if I miss this free throw, can it just be another shot? It's another lesson. Can I do that? These are all the things that can happen in our body if we know about them. But
Mm.
instead, do you know what we're taught? Get out of your head. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wish all my players could just get out of their head. That would be beautiful. But that's not how we're designed.
Mm.
And there's some things that we can do about thinking space and action space. You can do different ways to understand just your motions. There's so many. I could go all day on this one, so I'm going to stop myself on this. But there's so many different tools and techniques that you can do. But if a player is listening into this or a coach is listening into this, I'm going to say let's start with what is causing urgency and pain. And then see, is this true? Can we see it differently? Is where I would say start. And then just look at your past too. If it is, where's this coming from? How's this hitting the insula? If it's hitting our insula, the weatherman is predicting these storms. How do we make meaning of it?
Love that
So
analogy.
good, Emily. So good. You also talked to us about band-aid strategies. So, that sometimes situations arise and we do need to keep functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps, athletes, not necessarily more than most, but they're in high performance environments, high pressure environments, and often fairly scrutinized. How
Mm-hmm.
can they use their band-aids?
This came actually not too long ago talking with my daughter,
Mhm,
and that she was at school and something happened and she had to use a band aid approach. So this can be breathing, this can be touching your chest, this could be a reframe. It can be a thinking reset or it can be an action reset, is usually what I say. Um, and these are ways that we can soothe the moment so we can continue on. And then my
mm,
daughter, she was so cute. She came in and she's like, "Mama," she's like, "I did my band-aid." She goes, "I gotta rip it off now." And that's the thing is like in those moments, you do have to put strategies. And if anybody's had mental performance, I think this is where the mainstream of mental performance does.
mhm,
It is
mhm.
let's band-aid it. Let's do a cold plunge. Let's do a box breathing or a physiological sigh. Let's do these things in the moment. Let's hear a mantra. Let's say something. They're
Yeah.
great in the moment, but if you don't make any meaning from it, if you don't understand what in that context, what in that environment, what was the context, what was the past pain, what was in that caused you, or was it a pressure, was it environment, was it that you didn't sleep right, was it exercise, was it eating, what in your environment or in you led to this? so we can get another lesson learned so we can apply it because we're just sticking band-aids on the same exact thing, and that's insanity.
Yeah. Is it
Truth.
plausible that athletes are susceptible to these responses that we're talking about today because often we take high achievement as a mask for some of these
Mhm.
things?
Yep, and that is even high achieving is a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Really is,
Yeah.
and I was this is me speaking from experience.
Yeah.
How my company even got named is because I was doing and doing. I was being named top in the nation at what I was doing. I was saving millions. I was a rock star. However, I come home and my 8-year-old son said, "Mama, what if you could be a human being instead of a human always working?" And I'm like, "Dang it, child." They're frustrating. Love the kids, but they always have the best questions, and I want to sometimes. But within respect to that is understanding that we need to understand our being before we can get to our doing. And that's our identity too, is understanding who we are, how we want to show up, what is our core values, how do we want to be represented in the spaces that we are, and even what do we want to do? What do we want to say yes to? What do we want to say no to? Can we speak back to the coach? Because whenever we know, can we correct? Do we have confidence in that? And there's so many different areas that you can interlie with that. But athletes, their identity is in their performance because that's what we look at. You've been good. And I am one I hate when people say good or bad. And
Mhm.
I shoot at my kid. He's like, I hit good today. I'm like, no, 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 no. You are good. You're a good human. Let's look at your actions. What was your we do this ETA emotions. What is one emotion that you had? What did you like? And tell me, what was the action around it? What was one thought you had? What was the action around it? What was two actions that were helpful or hurtful? How did that impact you? What was the lessons learned or the lessons re-remembered? Because my kid is like, I already knew that. I'm like, well, yeah, re-remembered it, which is neuroplasticity, which is you have to continue the networks, making that path a little bit stronger, wider, easier to flow down. And then what am I going to do the next step? And these are just data points. Because here's the thing, a lot of people take these data points and then they again put it back on their identity. I didn't hit good. I was
Yeah.
emotional. I was this. I was this. No, y'all. Like, if you can actually step back and look and see where you're performing just as, again, data points along the way, you can get to what we started talking about is that trauma. We can see where it comes up. We can continue to see where to even bring it back into the engineering. Where's the leading we call it leading indicators and lagging indicators. Where's the starting point in the process that's
Mm.
impacting our ultimate performance? Instead of we're starting with performance, our numbers weren't good or we're not good, all this. And how do we actually reverse it back so that our brains can be able to interpret it so we can show up?
You I love the way that you speak about what the brain is producing, right? Just this that's the human being.
Mhm,
That's the me component of the things that are happening externally usually that I'm
mhm.
receiving. Speaking of the brain, the cool thing you told us is how the brain can change. So let's talk then about those experiences and memories and the way we revisit memories as an adult perhaps so that we can reshape the way we carry them.
Yes. Okay. So one of my favorite things to talk about is adult neurogenesis. So everybody's like, "Oh, turn off now." No, adult.
It's ama
But it's something that we used to think that our brains stop growing after a certain age point. But what we have found is that specifically, like in the hippocampus, which I call it the hippo going to campus, and it's so where we learn and have some memory from, is that we are allowed to recall, and then the power of that is this is the reason why we get those data points that I was talking about, so that we can figure out how to remember them. Because a lot of times we remember things that can be to our detriment but that's where that meaning making comes in. If we can remember them and look for the lessons learned, what can we do next time? Again, if to remember watching that show, I I knew better, but that memory was not there, and now it reinforced to look back of not that, "Oh, I did bad and I should have done." No, next time, lessons learned. And I've said this to mantra. It's still a Band-Aid approach. You're going to say, be careful, little ears, what you hear. Be careful, little eyes, what you see. I've been
Mm,
very big on what you consume is not just food wise, but what you see, what you hear. It all goes into our brains and how we memorize. It will give us our biases and how we direct. It's also like in the morning. It's so important in the morning to set your pace up correctly or wisely, because what you see in the morning actually sets your full day. It will
yeah.
Your brain is designed to see that the rest of the day. So if the first thing you're looking at is news and it's saying the world is going to hell in a handbasket, as we would say in the South, guess what you're going to see all day.
Mm,
Yeah.
However, we know if you set that up to see gratitude, and this is what I do with my kids every morning. We do 3 things we're grateful for. And by setting up that gratitude, not only do we reduce cortisol, which is the angry coworker of the body, like inflammation, it increases oxytocin, which allows us to be connected and bonded with people better. It allows us to have more dopamine, which allows for focus and fun. It allows for all these things to continue to go throughout the day, but it also allows us to see the good. It allows us to see not that we are good or the good. The world is like there is good in the world. There's good in our day. If we're going to look at good, let's look at through a lens of gratitude. And so that is what happens in the brain is how we remember and how we set up.
how are you now being a human being and not a human always working, Emily?
I love that question. I'll give an example today. I actually posted on it a little bit, but back in the day, I thought that you had to be busy all the time.
You
And
don't?
too many of us confuse movement with motion. And so we can be, I don't know, I always say this whenever COVID happened, I feel like we were pivoting and pivoting, and we were just ballerinas spinning in circles going nowhere.
Mm,
Yeah.
Instead of having movement, like in going forward and progressing, we're just having motion. And we're in those insanity circles, like doing the same thing over and over again. So today, every Monday, I go to my mountain, like I mentioned earlier. Back in the day, that would be too me oriented. That would be uh, it's not productive. I am not performing. However, I have now learned and also goal couple a few things. So it's getting outside, it's taking my dog on a walk, it's me hiking, getting exercise, it's me having my faith time, and it's me sitting and connecting with what's next in the world, like what I need to do next. And those all goal coupling, like that is me being. It is me sit in silence. And that's the
mm,
other thing I found is try this. Sit for 6 minutes. Just try 6 minutes. Actually, most people can't even do six. Try 3 minutes. Set a timer and just sit still for 3 minutes and just see what you would try to grab for. See what you do. See what the apps you try to go on your phone. See if you fidget with your phone. That will tell you so much about you and what has owned you and what's conditioning you and leading you. And so now I know my core values. We have a word, my kids, we have a mission statement for our family as well. We have a mission statement for my company. My word of this year is joy. And so that's what I'm focusing on is being in that joy.
you are
And
a joy, Emily.
oh,
Absolutely.
thank you. So that's how I'm being is not always going to doing first. I need to know who I am, what I say, who I am, whose I am, and then also how I want to show up in the world. And actually, the irony that always comes from this is once I know how to be, I then can go do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in that doing, the irony that comes is that I always don't know what's next. But I say that my faith has to out lead my doubt. Because
Yeah.
whenever we're showing up in a world, no matter what we're doing, we can get afraid, doubtful, scared throughout the way. And so, which goes back to our traumas.
Yeah, wow.
Emily,
Wow.
if someone is listening who is no longer competing, what's one practice that they can begin like this week to reconnect with who they are outside performance? Where's their starting point?
Um, I will actually. This makes me think of my nieces and my daughter. The other day, they were telling this story about um this kid at school was saying ruler, and they were talking, and the teacher was like making fun of him, and he's like, no, and they thought math, and it's like math. We're not talking about that. We're talking about history. And the guy actually, the little boy came back and told them again, probably like a few hours later. He's like he felt it. He's like, no, like I still got to speak up on this. And what he said is he's like, I meant ruler as like a king. And what we went into this beautiful conversation is about, it's called relational framing theory. And how do we frame up the words? So if you are no longer an athlete, which I talk with this with my professional athletes as much as I do with anybody. Take that label off of you. Because once you stop performing, your identity can get lost. Who are you? Are you kind? Are you curious? What are you? But actually think about that back whenever you were an athlete. What were
Mm.
you? Were you the ones that like the game planning? Were you the thinker? Were you the one that was the teammate? You're the helper. What are from that time that you learned? What are the labels that you want to place on yourself? And then do that for the week. So like me, I know that I need joy. That is something this year I'm really grounding in is to have joy. And how do I show that up? Because that's going to be my priority. It's not that I am going to be doing 27 speeches. I'm going to be doing all these podcasts. I'm going to be working with all these athletes. No, I am going to have joy. And then I'm going to walk out my mission, which is to create a space for accountability and connection, not for here and now, but for 7 generations to come. That's part of our mission statement. That means I'm not doing a check a box. I'm not. So I need to know how I'm going to be. And I feel like too many people that almost went pro, they're still sitting in that trauma of, I didn't do enough. I didn't do this. I didn't get to go. So I'm a failure. No, you got to almost pro. Can we just start there? What got you there? I'm going to guess it's your discipline. I'm going to guess it's your consistency. I'm going to guess it's your curiosity. And lean into those and find that meaning making that I talked about instead of going with amygdala and the pain. And how you walk into those contexts, what can you do? Because my guess is too, you're probably leading other athletes or you're leading children. And then you step into those environments again. And then this is a whole nother podcast for another day. But then you put your trauma your hurt onto the next generation. And then you make them have to perform. Let's pull that back. What can you
Em
do? And how do you want to label? And if you have people that you lead and love, how do you want them to show up? Not what they're doing performance wise. Are they a kind human? Are they people that will make this world a better place?
If I could
Emily,
put anything on a loop and just play it back, it's probably that last bit and just send it to every coach, every institution, every player, every past competitor. Just an important way to move forward and grow past the game
right,
and hits at the very
right,
essence of what we do at Almost Pro and why it's so important to
100%,
us.
100%. Emily Kile, holy, you just smashed that home. That for us is how we got here. That for us is why Almost Pro exists. And and my gosh, we are grateful to have you as a friend of ours. Emily, it goes without saying that, Laura and I believe we could just add you to our team and continue these conversations week after week because your substance, your content, your knowledge is just phenomenal and relevant. It's relevant for so many walks of life, and my gosh, I'm so grateful, so grateful that we've had you. Emily, the problem I have though is I can't let you leave until we play a game of this or that.
Let's
We
play.
Is rapid fire. Oh, it's ready. You don't even need an intro. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Prepared.
Okay. All right, Emily. Podcast in your ears or silence in the car?
Ooh, silence in the car.
Game day nerves or the training grind?
A training grind.
Basketball or ballroom?
Oh, I would have to say basketball.
Mountains or beaches?
Mountains all day.
Hey, we guessed that. We
Got
already
that
guessed
impression. Yeah.
Well, Laura and I should actually have a bit of a bet before we have these questions and write down what we think you're going to say.
Yeah.
Yep, love it. Dark chocolate or coffee?
Dark chocolate all day.
All day. Creator or consumer?
Creator.
Yep. Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings.
On the theme of joy, this one, deep conversations or belly laughs?
Oh. That was a hard one. I'll say deep conversations.
Yeah, why can't we have both though? I think we should
I
have
know.
both.
I want both.
Talent or timing?
Timing.
Discipline or curiosity?
Ooh. I think curiosity leads it to the discipline.
It
Fair.
does. And to close us out, human doing or human being?
Human being.
Yay! This was This or That with Emily Kile. Thanks, Emily.
Thank y'all.
Today, we've been joined by Emily Kile, helping us understand that performance is shaped by the brain, the nervous system, and the stories we carry. For athletes and former athletes, this knowledge isn't abstract, it's practical. It changes how you train, how you lead, how you recover, and how you move forward. You can find Emily at Workzbe and her book, Bitter to Better, online. And remember, Almost Pro isn't about what you didn't become, it's about who you are still becoming.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah.